All right, today we're going to play detective. We're going to solve a financial mystery that, frankly, affects millions of people. Why a retirement nest egg that you spent 30 years building can literally vanish in half that time. It's a huge question, right? It keeps people up at night. You do everything you're supposed to do. You save diligently for decades. You build what feels like a really solid nest egg. But for way too many retirees, that nest egg cracks far, far sooner than they ever expected. So today, we're going to uncover the hidden culprits behind this. So to really get this, you have to think about retirement like flipping a giant switch. Your entire working life is what we call the accumulation phase. You're putting money in, you're saving. And hey, if the market goes down, it's just a chance to buy on sale. But the day you retire, bam, you hit that switch. You enter the distribution phase. And now you're taking money out. And believe me, the rules of the game completely change. So let's dive into our first clue. This one reveals probably the most powerful and honestly the most misunderstood risk in all of retirement planning, the simple peril of bad timing. Now, it has this kind of technical name, sequence of returns risk, but forget the jargon. Imagine this. Two sailors are setting out on the exact same long journey. One of them launches into calm seas, beautiful weather, fair winds. The other, they sail directly into a raging storm. Now, even if they have identical ships, their journeys are going to be dramatically different. That storm, right at the beginning, that's sequence risk. It's what happens when a bear market hits in the first few years you start taking money out. To really see this in action, let's look at what I call the tale of two retirees. Let's call them retiree A and retiree B. They both did great. They both start with $1 million. And they both plan to pull out $50,000 a year to live on. Now here's the kicker. Over 10 years, they get the exact same average return on their money. The only difference is the order, the sequence of those returns. And wow, this just lays out the damage perfectly. So retiree A gets the good market years right up front. You can see their portfolio grows and their withdrawals are just a small bite out of a healthy, growing apple. But then look at retiree B. They retire right into a down market. So to get that $50,000 they need, they have to sell their investments when prices are in the gutter. This isn't just a paper loss anymore. They are locking in those losses for real, and they're permanently shrinking the financial engine that's supposed to last the rest of their life. So after 10 years, retiree A, the one who started in a strong market, they've weathered the ups and downs, and they still have over $750,000 left. Their portfolio is healthy, it's got plenty of fuel left in the tank for the rest of the voyage. But retiree B? Well, their portfolio has been absolutely decimated. They're left with less than half of what retiree A has. And remember, let's be super clear, they started with the same money and they got the same average returns. The only thing that was different was that brutal storm right at the beginning of their retirement. And this is why so many experts call the few years right before and right after you retire the retirement red zone. This period is incredibly fragile. A bad sequence of returns right here can do more damage to your long-term security than at pretty much any other time. It's like a critical failure right at launch. Okay, so that first clue, that was the market's fault, right? Just bad luck. But our next clue is a behavioral one. It's a pattern that most retirees naturally, and you know what, joyfully, fall right into. Researchers have found something really interesting about how we spend money in retirement. It's not a flat line. It actually follows a pattern they call the retirement spending smile. It starts high in the early active years, the go-go years. Then it dips down in the middle, the slow-go years, and sometimes it curves back up a little bit at the end, mostly due to healthcare. We're going to focus on that first phase, the go-go years. And the go-go years, this is the good stuff. This is what you've been dreaming about. You're finally free, you're feeling healthy, you're active. This is when you finally take those bucket list trips, you pick up new hobbies, you're eating out more, maybe you're helping out the kids or grandkids. It is the absolute peak of your discretionary spending. And this is where our clues converge to create a perfect storm. This high-spending phase often happens during that exact same fragile retirement red zone. So think about it. You're taking bigger withdrawals out of your portfolio at the precise moment it is most vulnerable to a market crash. That combination just dramatically accelerates the drain on your savings. All right, our third and final clue is like a giant iceberg. It's a massive expense lurking just beneath the surface that is hugely underestimated in most retirement plans, the true cost of healthcare. According to recent estimates, a healthy 65-year-old couple can expect to spend nearly $400,000 on medical costs throughout their retirement. But here's the real kicker: that absolutely staggering number doesn't even include the biggest potential expense of them all. The problem is that healthcare costs just don't play by the same rules as everything else. For the last 2 decades, medical inflation has consistently and significantly outpaced the general cost of living. What that does is it creates a compounding deficit in your plan. It just eats away at your purchasing power year after year after year. Now let's talk about that huge missing expense. So many of us believe, oh, Medicare will cover me if I need long-term care. This is a critical, and I mean absolutely critical, misunderstanding. Medicare does not typically pay for extended stays in assisted living or nursing homes, and that financial shock can single-handedly derail an entire retirement plan. And the costs we're talking about are astronomical. The median annual cost for just a semi-private room in a nursing home is over $111,000. Think about that for a second. 1 or 2 years of that kind of care can wipe out a lifetime of savings. So, we've gathered our clues. Let's put them all together now and solve the mystery of why a 30-year plan can fail in just 15. The case is pretty clear. It's rarely just one thing. It's a toxic combination of 3. First, you have the bad luck of a market downturn right when you retire. Second, you combine that with the high spending of those fun go-go years. And third, you layer on top the relentless and often underestimated costs of healthcare and long-term care. And that 15-year mark, it isn't random. It's actually the predictable point where all these different risks collide. The permanent damage from a bad market start has been fully felt, the go-go years have taken their toll, and now the really serious healthcare costs of later life are starting to kick in. It's the moment a slow leak suddenly becomes a flood. Now, the good news in all of this is that none of these risks has to be fatal to your financial security. Just by understanding them, you can start to build a more flexible, a more resilient plan that's actually designed to navigate these storms. So the mystery is solved. But the real question now becomes, is your plan built to be resilient?
If you're concerned about running out of money in retirement, I created a free guide that explains how retirement income strategies really work. You can download it using the link in the description below.